gathering, which I personally believe was very, very, very necessary, considering what has been happening in our country the last couple of days. My name is Thomas Kwenaite, and I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you all. And I believe the MEC for Sports, Arts and Culture, Mbali Hlope, is around here. And she is very welcome. There's a couple of, Mbali, welcome. Ria Ledwaba, NEC for Safa and chair lady for women football in South Africa. You are welcome. Bafana Bafana coach and all distinguished guests. Amy Kasaleti, I saw her around here. We've got quite a number of very prominent people here. All of you are welcome. I suppose we are all aware of what has been happening around the country during the last couple of weeks, and it was necessary for the coaches in particular who work with quite a number of players that most of them come from outside the country and are affiliated to different clubs in the country. And the coaches felt it necessary really to call this meeting to address some of the challenges that they face on a daily basis while working with these players. And I think it's a very great initiative. And can you imagine, as it is right now, Bafana Bafana had some of their matches cancelled because of the challenges that are going on. And for Bafana Bafana to qualify for either the World Cup or the Africa Cup of Nations, they have to travel in the continent. Right now, as we speak, Mamelodi Sundowns with their coach Pitso Mosimane have to honor an African Champions League match out of the country, and who knows what will happen. Perhaps our government or the government of the country that they are going to visit might also cancel that game because the situation is so dire that they might not be safe. So it is under these conditions that this gathering has been called, because the coaches felt that it is vitally important for them to address this. And before we start, I'd like to take this opportunity also to introduce on my far, far left, Coach Pitso Mosimane of Mamelodi Sundowns. Next to him is Coach Kavan Johnson of Amazulu, and King Kalusha Bwalia, an ex-international player and former African Footballer of the Year, and Wetsen Nyirenda next to him, the coach of Baroka, and Steve Compella, closest to me, and the coach of Lamontville Golden Arrows. Before we start, I think there's a little clip now. I'm very old school, and please forgive me if I don't press the right buttons here. There's a little clip that I need to play for you. I think Leon can help me out. There's a clip that we'd like to play for you. Go on.
Roy Benke. I'm the former coach of the Congolese national team and actually the head coach of Vita Club. What I want to say is that apartheid is over. Today, let's give xenophobia and violence against women a red card. In South Africa, in Africa, and all over the world.
Hi, my name is Wetsen Nyirenda. I'm the former Chipolo Polo Zambia national team coach. And now,
you see, I told you I'm old school. And Leon, I'm going to need your help. Please don't go very, very far. And of course, we are, as a country, also faced with a very, very challenging situation about violence against women and children in this country. Something has gone terribly wrong with us as a country when you look at the state of violence against the most vulnerable people in our society. And the saddest part of it all is that we as men come from women, and yet we abuse and we kill them. What is wrong with us? You know, it reminds me of a situation where there was a group of tourists at the Kruger National Park, and they were looking at lions, a family of lions sitting there, and the tourists were taking pictures of these lions. And one of the lions turns out to some of the female lionesses and say, these people kill their young and their children. That just says a lot about us as people. And we call ourselves humans. This is terrible, really. But without any waste of time, can I call Coach Steve Compella to address you. Or would you like to talk over there or here? You can sit there, I suppose. Or you want to speak here? Gentlemen, okay, the gentlemen want you seated then.
So for me to speak, I have to press first.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I think I must quickly say protocol observed and immediately declare I stand here on behalf of the South African coaches, both in the PSL and other divisions, and also assuming that I'm standing here on behalf of other foreign coaches who are from predominantly Africa, and there's a lot of them. There's just a message we saw from Floren, and also Coach Nyirenda, and going to my left up until Coach Pizzo. It is clear that this is more of a platform of coaches who I think I'm going to try and represent in my articulation. The first thing would be why call this conference, and why is it called by coaches? I think sport has the ability to transform and change societies, and sport has the ability to unite, and sport has a voice. And we saw it important that we should also try bring that voice here, and appreciate your presence as well, that we should try deal with what TK has just mentioned. Now, this address is predominantly to our players, to our brothers and sisters, both in South Africa and in the continent. It is to all the African coaches we have, those who are both local and even out in Africa, to come and say our message is simple, that our challenges as a country and a continent are not so simplistic, that they are not as shallow, that South African challenges are complex, as we know, and not different to any challenges you find in the continent. And by so saying, we as coaches have decided to say, let's have a voice and say, we denounce violence in South Africa. We plead for calmness, for calm, and allow authorities to provide direction and leadership. We advocate for coexistence, not only for locals, but also for our brothers and sisters from the continent. We encourage education, enlightenment, because it is only at the back of education and enlightenment that we can understand the dynamics at play. We are not here to define what is. We are not here to call what is by its name or as is, but just here to say the 4 points that we've made above should stand. And above all, apart from the intercontinental challenges we face as Africans, locally as well, to stop abuse and gender-based violence in our country. And we plead and request that each one of us, at whatever level, must just try play their part. We as coaches are trying to play our part. I know this is very difficult for any of the authorities, it be sports-wise, it be political, but our declaration is simple. We are not here to outstage anybody. We are not here to represent any of the authorities, but we are here as coaches, as fathers, as brothers who live with these top athletes. I will share a simple story with you that maybe you shall understand better. I've got about 5 internationals working with me, and I'm sitting with about 25 locals. They all belong to one family. and most of them, if not all, are African. And at the back of the Tuesday incident, the Wednesday incident, we started feeling the pressure. You go to training in the morning, you're facing these wonderful athletes and top athletes in our country, diverse and different as they are. And you look into their eyes, you realize that there's an element of uncertainty, there's an element of anxiety, there's an element of not knowing what's happening, and you as a leader must provide leadership. And we cannot close our eyes and our ears and pretending all is okay when all the athletes and professionals you're working with are panicky. And the very same athletes you're working with have to go back to their communities. That's even worse. And as a result, we decided as fathers and coaches to try and say, please, please, please give an opportunity to those responsible to give direction by staying calm. And we then said, if Lunga has gone to the national team, Mutizwa has gone to the national team, and he's calling Piri, he's calling Etmos Sibande. The players I've just mentioned for information are Zimbabwean internationals. 2 have gone to the national team, and others have stayed behind. But they need to share information with regards to what's happening there. I don't want Lunga to have doubts in terms of where we stand as South Africans towards Zimbabweans. I don't want Piri to feel uncertainty in terms of interaction and relation with the players he's with, more especially locals, as an international. And when they go back to their communities, they must give the same reassurance. We South Africans are non-violent. We South Africans have been kept in these African states for years. When we were fighting our little demons and struggles, we appreciated their stay there, and we also rewarded whatever they gave to us, and we do likewise here. So if anybody has to do whatever, they must wait for authority and everybody else according to the rule of law to do as required. And I wish to appreciate the presence of you gentlemen. But again, just in a more, not here to offer a lecture, it's just to acknowledge the challenges we face. For as long as we don't take football and sports as one of the instruments to instill core human values, we are misguided. If we can take sports and regard sports with the same essence and significance as education and any other, arts included. I was saying to my players at training, when you come to training and you're listening to a song, it could be Amapiano, it could be Iqom, it could be any other song. The message in that song is crucial. When I'm in the car driving to work or to school, wherever, and I'm with my kid, and a song that has got lyrics that are highly offensive and explicit, I have problems in switching on the volume. I get consumed by the music. Art is important in terms of maintaining core human values. Education is the same. Sports is no different. So I am pleading with artists, I am pleading with coaches, I'm pleading with citizens to uphold a higher level of discipline and a higher level of core human values, is to instill them by trying to be more exemplary, that we have proper role models. We cannot leave our country go down the drain as it is not, by the way. But we cannot watch as things happen. There has to be a voice. And I'm sure most of these coaches will feel your questions. And I think I must stop here before I could even give a lecture with regards to where our 300 years of history come from, that Africans must unite. The essence of division in Africa did not only start with the King Leopold and them, when they split Africa into 5 compartments. But that went even deeper from the times of slavery as it came up until now, that we need to wake up as Africans and understand that our survival is heavily dependent on our unity. We can never be a nation or a continent in motion and progression without being unified. We cannot exist without looking at Kwame Nkrumah, the Sankaras, the Nelson Mandelas, and you and I believe we can go somewhere without that recognition. I'm no politician, but sometimes we need enlightenment. We need to read and understand so that we can coexist easily with harmony together. So we as coaches are here to say, please be calm. because the players we're working with are with us on a daily basis. We are there on the ground. We know what is happening. It is not easy. Make it easy for us. And for the players, have confidence. You have our protection as your brothers, as your fathers, as your coaches. For our brothers in the continent, we are African. We are no way superior, neither are we inferior. We share the same ideals. We have the same problems you have. The only thing we need to do is to talk amongst ourselves, have common understanding so that we can coexist. And let each one of us play their part. We're trying to play our part, play your part. I know by the time we leave here, a lot would have been distorted, but still have a higher level of discipline and a degree of understanding that you have to make a positive difference, that there should be more of enlightenment and clarity in how the world evolves in the 21st century. It's a hell of a challenge. Whether it's social media, or there's information, whatever, so we need to have a proper and clear direction in terms of what we take, what we consume, what is real and what is not real. But let's try give guidance. Otherwise, we shall have no generations coming forth. The only way to have proper generations is to uphold, introduce, and educate the young ones about core human values. Amongst them is respect and knowledge. Humility, you can count them. You can even get to 200 values. But let's try with the basics. And we are here to say that. And for the moment, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope they will understand the players that they are safe. Our brothers in Africa, we are with them, and they should be with us. They kept us when we had a moment of need. We'll keep them when they have a moment of need. But there has to be clarity that there should never be fear. Because the minute there's fear, like dogs, we act. But the minute a dog comes across something he's not familiar with, it starts to bark. And the minute we start fighting, it is because of lack of understanding. And we fear something we don't know. Understand first, you shall fear nothing. When you understand, you have no fear. Let's understand.
Thank you very much, Coach. Very well spoken. And gentlemen, you'll naturally have your Q&As at the end of this session. And I'm going to rush this program. And I said to you that I'm not privy, I'm not good at this. No. I think I'm going to switch things around a little bit and call on King Kalu. Kalusha was one of the players that scored, I remember, I still can't forget that, a hat-trick against Italy in 1988. And that feat alone forced Kev to declare him the footballer of the year. King Kalu, your turn.
Master of Ceremony, thank you so much, TK.
You're welcome, King Kalu.
Thank you so much. Want to say all protocols observed, seen the hierarchy, I've seen the MEC of sport, and I've seen also Safa, who have represented, I've seen also the coach. Unfortunately, our brother has to start in a very tough week for the sport that we love so much. I think I couldn't put it in better words than the way Steve has spoken. I'm happy when I got a call from Pizzo and the guys to say they want to do something. I think it is important for a country like South Africa, for you guys to come up and speak, because you are handling an emotional game, which is football, which everybody has a footballer in himself, because whether you are born in Senegal, you're born in Nigeria or in Zambia, you love football because it comes naturally to all of us, because you have either a parent who plays, or a son who plays, a brother who plays, a sister who plays. So everybody, or a team that you support. So that is why sport or football is very, very cardinal in our continent. And unfortunately, the rest of the world, the people, they look at us and they don't even know that there are boundaries. There are 54 African countries. They just think of us as Africa, as Africans. Some of us had the privilege to go out of the continent when we were very young. And in the early 80s, to go into Belgium and to go into the Americas, in Mexico. People, they don't even know where our countries are. They just know that, oh, it's somewhere in Africa, and we are treated as one. And that is why a cause like this, it's very, very important that we can use sport, to bring the divisions. We have many challenges. Everybody has a lot of challenges in their lives, where we stay, where we live. But football has been able to bring the people together, and I think it is our responsibility, that if there is something that we can be able to say, today, that voice is being heard because of the amount of reach that sport has. So I think football has been a bastion of defiance against racial discrimination. It is a team sport where all the players are part of the machinery that makes the team victorious. Everybody wants to work. In Zambia, where we grew up, the people worked in the mines, in the copper mines. But rest be assured that the weekend they wanted to come and see a good football match. And so we have been able to develop a lot of teams and people, they are proud, and they have been able to go out and in the KK11 and the Chipolo Polo. So what I'm just saying is that we have a great history. We have come a long way as Africans, and that is why the events that we have seen in the last two weeks, in gender violence against women, all this, it has to be at a particular time. Has to be. We have to draw a line on the ground. We have to reinvent ourselves. We have to say, no, enough is enough. Let us do something. And that is why we have come here today to speak on solidarity and to care about ourselves as Africans. Nobody is going to sort it out for us. We as a people have to come together. We as sports people have to come together. The people who work, the people who are governing, the leaders that we have, they have to bring the communities, they have to bring the people together. They have to explain the history of our countries, how the liberation struggle took place. My president, the first president of the Republic of Zambia, Kenneth David Kaunda, himself was one of the leaders in the fight against apartheid, in the fight, that Africa can be liberated. And I feel proud, from where I come from, that Zambia played a huge role in eliminating injustice around the SADC area. We had people in Zambia living from South Africa. Thabo Mbeki, Oliver Tambo lived many years in Zambia. The ANC headquarters was in Zambia. The liberation struggle from Namibia was in Zambia. The people of Angola, they had the headquarters in Zambia. Zimbabwe, everybody had the headquarters in Zambia. So I'm sure the old man is still there, KK, and it will be an injustice for me not to mention his name and for what he has done. But he was only one person, and I think that one can be transferred in all of us. The President Nelson Mandela himself, was there in the forefront. He has done so much for Africa, for all of us. And today we stand proud, and people, where you travel, those people will get a chance to travel. The people then remind you of a lot of great people who came before us and who made it possible that we are here and enjoying the sport that we love. So I just want to say, that everybody has to love each other, protect each other. We belong together. We live, life is a struggle, but we need to stand together as a people to help each other. So this is my message. There's many people who want to be here, who are outside, who are here in South Africa, who are outside of South Africa. So through us, especially who are not South African, here in Wetson, I'm sure we'll be able to convey the message from outside that we want, solidarity for the continent, and together we are strong. I thank you most sincerely.
Thank you very much, King Kalu. Solidarity, of course, is what we need. And the next speaker, of course, some people know him as the coach of Baroka FC, but some of us remember him for his days as a nightmare to defend us while playing for Kaizer Chiefs. And he would be our next speaker. But before we ask him to say something to you, there is a little message that he has for you. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Wedson Nyirenda. I'm the former Polo Zambia national team coach, and now I'm coaching Baroka FC. I strongly denounce and condemn the xenophobic attacks which are happening in South Africa, and the gender violence must be condemned to the highest degree. We are all Africans, we belong together, we should live with one another and love one another.
Hi, my name.
That is Wedson Nyirenda. Coach Wedi, your turn.
Yeah. Thank you very much, TK. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Like you've just heard from our predecessors, I think they've spoken a mouthful. Mine will be just a short message. And like you've just heard from the clip that I was speaking, it was recorded yesterday when I was on the pitch. It shows how grave this situation we are in is, because you cannot even train well. You have to talk about things like this. The gender issue, I think it has just gone out of way. We need to respect our women. We need to take care of our women. We need to give them the support and the respect. This is what a man was created to do. But we are doing the opposite. We cannot live without our women. They are our mothers. The world is all about a woman. They say you train a woman, you train the whole world. So we need to respect our women. That should be taken so seriously. Coming to the xenophobic attacks, if somebody will be thinking that it will be a one-way traffic, it will not be, because it affects everybody. That is why, as coaches, we are sitting here today to air our views and to tell the world how affected we are. It is not about us, the coaches alone, but we are talking of the people that we are working with. If you look at football and what it consists of, you are talking of a big population. We are talking of supporters, we are talking of fans out there. The people, the owner of the game, the supporters. What are we going to do if we are not going to give them the game that they love most? Because this situation, as volatile as it is, it can affect games such that we will not have people going to the fields. Now, talking about Africa, we have struggled in football. We have gone a mile getting closer to what we want in world football. Just when we are thinking that I think we are moving to the right direction, that is when we are dividing ourselves. How are we going to win it? We need to see an African team playing the final of the World Cup. We are very close to doing that. A few years back, Cameroon went into the quarterfinals, Ghana went into the quarterfinals, and we thought we are going to take another step going to the semis. I remember too vividly, Zambia was sharpened by South Africa, and South Africa was sharpened by Zambia. Zimbabwe was sharpened by Zambia.
Zimbabwe was sharpened by Namibia and all the neighboring countries. That is why we had the SADC tournaments, and we have now the COSAFA. How are we going to move on if one of our own is grieved and they cannot accept us? If we cannot be accepted and South Africa is not going to be accepted in Zambia, then we are not going anywhere. As it stands now, I think we have a problem with our national teams not playing and playing friendlies, and the other teams that are in the continental games will be affected. Now, a house, I'll give an example. A house has rooms divided by room dividers or the walls. And that house contains a family. But those walls does not mean that the family is divided. They live in the same house, but in different rooms. When they come out, they are still one family. I should mind the way I enter my young brother's room. And he should mind the way he enters my room. But I'm free to enter my brother's room. I should not be restricted. So that there are boundaries doesn't mean that we are different. We are same and one. And we should coexist. Thank you very much.
Coach Wedi, thank you very, very much. Very well spoken. And I think some people might be wondering, why football? Why football coaches have taken the lead? Why not cricket? Why not rugby? And the MEC, Mbali Hlope, will forgive me, but I think football has reached this pinnacle of popularity largely because of its ability to generate a certain level of excitement and involvement in spectators that no other sport can equal. And it is for this reason that I'd like to call the MEC to come and address you. It wasn't my plan, of course. I planned to have her probably towards the end of the program to give us a vote of thanks, but she has other pressing issues, and for that I would like to call her up front. Mbali Hlope, please.
Thank you. My height is exposed. But it's really to say thank you for this sitting. One of the things we have been saying is that our forebears and those who have brought us this great liberation that the country enjoys have always had an appreciation for the role that sport can play. And this sitting is but evidence to that. That whilst we may be on the courts, on the field, and so forth, we equally do have an interest on what happens within the country. Understanding and appreciation that anything that does happen, whether it is turmoil in the form of the xenophobic attacks that have taken place, the gender-based violence that has taken place, all these things speak to the nation that we are, but touch even to sport. And we have seen the ripple effects of this and how some of the other countries have started pulling out of having games with us. Now, it's not a nice thing that the country has to go through, but what it does signal, it sends a very loud message to all of us. That which we think divides us is man-made. The borders that we see within the continent are man-made. All of us are flesh and blood. So what we think these artificial things that are there, which are borders and so forth, are not really there and should never be the ones that seek to divide us, especially if we have an appreciation of where this continent comes from and how these borders even came about to begin with. It's about having a deeper appreciation for the oneness that is us, an ability to celebrate that. And when our coaches come out today, and later today, one of the other events that I need to go to is because the artists are also coming out. And they're saying, yes, as the entertainers, as the sportsmen, as the sportswomen, all of us are affected in one way or another. So your actions, when you inflict pain on a brother or on a sister, you don't just do it as an act and it ends there. It has ripple effects and it touches all of us. But here we are as sport today, and later we'll be speaking to those within the entertainment industry. And all of them are saying, let's stand together, let's rise up and stand up against the injustices that are taking place. For we have an appreciation that our former President Nelson Mandela had a great understanding of the role that sport can play in a nation and nation building, to build and ensure that we inculcate social cohesion. Because it is through sport that is one of the few platforms that one has to level the playing field. Whether you are rich, you are poor, you are male, you are female, you are black, you are white, the sporting field cares not about any of that. Because there you compete based on your God-given talent or the innate talent that is within you. And so through sport, we're able to level that playing field so that everybody can come together and be able to learn critical lessons whilst on the field. Whilst the field might be able to bring out the competitiveness that is amongst all of us, but some of the critical lessons we get to learn is self-discipline and, importantly, camaraderie and teamwork. And so that is why it matters not what you think divides us. It is all man-made. It's a figment of your imagination. Because we have an appreciation of what actually unites us, and that at the end of the day, all of us are just mere flesh and blood. And we'll all end up one way. So this is a call by sports coaches, and it's a call that is shared by many women, many men who are out there, those within us, within sports, and within various industries that are there. And we are calling out to the nation to say, we're glad to see that it has lowered down. There was a lot of flare, there was a lot of turmoil a few days ago, and it is calming down. It's a signal that society is listening, and that we are doing this now, and having the coaches come up and they are speaking to the nation to say, let us all work together, let us all hold hands, and moving forward, let's ensure that we build the social cohesion that this great nation is known for. I thank you.
Thank you very much, MEC. Very well spoken, and I couldn't have said it myself any better. And that is one of the reasons why you have been appointed.
Hi, my name is Kaitano Tembo, Supersport United head coach, and I'm from Zimbabwe. I urge us men to stop gender-based violence against our women and children. Let's be their protectors. I appeal to our people to stop these xenophobic attacks against our fellow African brothers and sisters, because we are one Africa. Thank you.
Hello, fellow Africans.
Before we press this one, Leon, I would like to call on Waya to say a few things for you. Waya Mtawali, the MEC is leaving. I'd like to have a word with her, please. Waya, can you come forward? Has he gone? Waya, please. He's not connected.
Good afternoon. All protocol observed. I just want to give the support to the initiative by the coaches. We are Africans, we are one. I've played my football here in South Africa, and I've played all over around Africa, in Mali, in Zimbabwe, and the reception that we've got from the people of Africa, it was one thing all the time. And South Africa, let's keep it that way. Let's kick xenophobia out of South Africa. We are one. Thank you.
Substitute, change. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Tritz. My apologies for that. And our next speaker. But before I call the coach to speak, I think I'm now getting the hang of this thing.
My name is Pitso Musimane.
Aha.
I'm the head coach of Mamelodi Sundowns Football Club. I'm joining my fellow African coaches in the continent to condemn xenophobia and violence against women and children. Enough is enough. This must stop now.
Hello everybody, my name is Florent Ibeng.
No,
I'm the
Florent.
former coach of the Congolese national team and actually the head coach of Vita Club. What I want to say...
Okay, Florent has spoken and he's spoken again. Okay, and the last video that you played before Florent kind of jumped in was, of course, the coach of Mamelodi Sundowns, Pitso Mosimane. Pitso, as you all know, that he always say, in order for you to be respected in Africa, you've got to conquer Africa. And I think in a couple of days, he is planning to go to Africa. But because of what is happening really during the last couple of weeks, we hope and pray that the message gets across and let us get back to normalcy again, so that when Sundowns go out, whether to Congo or to Zimbabwe or to wherever, they can be accepted as they had always been accepted wherever they had been, even in Egypt, where I believe they are erecting a statue in honor of Pitso Mosimane. Coach, the floor is yours.
Afternoon, everybody. TK, I'm not aware of the statue being erased. I think Mitchell's statue will be ahead of mine. A lot has been spoken. I just want to observe protocol, of course. MEC is gone. More protocol to the ladies who are in the house. I think we should give them a round of applause because part of this thing is for them. I think a lot has been spoken about the role of sports or the role of football in our society, and hence we are here because sport has given us a platform to be addressing the issues that our country is facing at the moment. We just can't watch. We can't just look. We can't just pretend as if nothing is happening in our country and even outside the country where South Africans are affected. And Steve has said that it's time that we come out and condemn all these ill behaviors of xenophobia and violence against our women and our children. I just want to talk a little bit different from my fellow speakers who have addressed all the importance of why we're here. I'll just talk about maybe the experiences that are important that I need to share, that the topics that we are talking of, xenophobia and gender-based violence, are affected. I'll go a little bit into football. I think you know that everybody knows that our team is more in Africa. We're traveling a lot in Africa. We regard ourselves as the ambassadors of South Africa because for the last seven years we've been consistently being hosted by all these countries that we've been playing against, and it is important that I talk about all the good things that has happened to us. Just now, in our last group, we were in Guinea-Conakry, playing against Horoya. When we were driving to our hotel, just in the city center, in the middle of city center, there was a big statue of Nelson Mandela raised there. Unbelievable. So that's when you realize how, or you feel patriotism. That's where you realize that we as South Africans have been acknowledged and embraced, and the role of our politicians have played. And you feel home, you feel safe, because you see the statue of Nelson Mandela there. When I was a coach at Supersport United, we played against a team in Libya in the Champions League. When we arrived in Libya, we were welcomed by the son of the former president, Gaddafi. I was the head coach. It's unbelievable the warmth we got. The guy came to me, he says, "I understand you the head coach." I said, "Yes." He says, "I've provided 3 limousines for you guys." And we still had the bus. And I think you remember how small Supersport United was at that time. I think we took about only 18 players. And there's a bus and the staff. And the limousines, he gave us 4, in fact, 4 limousines. They could take about 4 people or 5 people in there. And everybody wanted himself in the limousine. It was the first time I'm in a limousine myself, you know. And I think you can know how many people were left to be in the bus, you know. And he says, "You are the sons of Nelson Mandela." When we came to the stadium, it was packed. As we were warming up, there was a big banner of Children of Mandela. Just imagine how we were feeling to be in that country, that we were safe. So that's what we are addressing at this point in time, that we've been safe all the way. King Kalu was talking about the KK11, Kenneth Kaunda 11. I just get goosebumps when he speaks about the president. I mean, the African revolutionist. I mean, we all know about it. When I was in Zambia now during the pre-season, was my birthday. I decided that I should spend my birthday trying to see if I can sneak an appointment or something to see KK. And as humble as he is through his son, he agreed that we should come over. I took my whole technical team is here. I took them to see KK. I mean, unbelievable pictures. He blessed us. He started with me. He took his white handkerchief that he put on top of my head and he prayed for me. And you ask yourself, who am I to be given that respect by Kenneth Kaunda? Who am I in this world to be given that? And he blessed the whole technical team one by one. He took his time. It's unbelievable. So when you are in that country, then you feel safe. And then they told us, say, go see where O.R. Tambo was living. We went to the O.R. Tambo house. We've got pictures we can show you, where he gave him a double story. Can you believe at that time? And he was hosting O.R. Tambo there. He even showed us the back, the gate at the back where when people were coming against them, the South African government at that time was coming against them, that they could escape from the back. It's unbelievable what we saw. And when you were in Zambia, you felt safe again. You know, so you ask yourself that we travel as Mamelodi Sundowns, we go everywhere. As TK has been saying it, that have we ever felt xenophobia? We have never felt it once. I'm the ambassador of South Africa. We travel everywhere. I can tell you about it. What we find, what we face, is what you all know that I've talked against this. We fight on the pitch. We fight within the stadiums. Once we've moved out of the stadiums, it's done. There's nobody following us and throwing stones at us and all that. We are safe. Otherwise, we would not be there. Otherwise, we'd have reported the cases. The cases, you know, is us fighting within the corridors of the stadium inside and the warm-ups and all that. That's normal. That's sport. Sport is competition. So I'm in Morocco all the time, and thanks to Kalusha, some of you don't know that it's through him that I have attended the courses of the CAF of the professional license. He's the chairman of that committee, and thanks for that, Kalu. When I'm in Morocco, I walk everywhere. People know me. And they talk to me, Coach, how are you, and all that. But there's never been a situation where I've faced violence, or I've faced any other, or being discriminated being South African and all that. We go to Nigeria. We were in the group stages with Lobby Stars. We played all these Nigerian teams. And whatever happens, happens on the pitch. You know the story, whether they give us the training pitch or not. It's all about mental strength and making them unsettled before the match. But we have never been in Nigeria, and we have had people coming to us. We're going to the supermarket. Sometimes you forget you want to get toiletries and all that. We go there, and there's never been issues. And we feel safe again. So I'm just highlighting the safety part. I've worked in Egypt, and I walk around everywhere. Where TK say there must be a statue. I'm not sure about it. But when I go there, I go to the souk, the market, the big souk there. I can hardly take 4 or 5 steps in Egypt. It's unbelievable. I walk here in Sentin, but I can't walk in the souk in Egypt. It's unbelievable. And why? Because people love South African. People love us. People give us respect. And through the sports, through the game of the Champions League, we are recognized. I would not have been recognized had it not been the game of football. And if I was not a coach, I would not have got that recognition that Carlos says he's traveled everywhere to Mexico and everywhere. I've also traveled as a football player. Steve has been in Turkey, he's been on TV, and has been everywhere in Turkey. And we were safe. Am I right, Steve? We were safe. So it's about time we reciprocate. It's about time we give back. It's about time we show the love and the support we got until where we are at this point in time. You know, so it's important for us to speak to our brothers, to speak to our people, to keep calm and respect other nations. As Kalusha said, that we live together. Coach Nyirenda said we love each other and we are one nation. You know, they always say Zambia, one nation. One Zambia, one nation. And KK said that to me, says one Zambia, and quickly I remembered, I said one nation. And he says one nation. And I said one Zambia. Unbelievable. Anyway, come back to the whole thing. Steve mentioned that we are coaching players, international players. When we look at them, what are we going to say to them when these things do happen? You know, what are we saying to these boys who score goals for us, who keep us in our jobs, who keeps you entertained, who keeps you the media here writing about them? These are our boys from outside. They've made wonders to us. I mean, you can mention the Dennis Onyango. All of these boys have been brilliant and have supported us. And also, we as coaches, we are parents, we are brothers, we are cousins, we are whatever. We speak to our fellow brothers and whatever, to respect other women, to respect children, and all that. So those are the experiences I just wanted to share, just to deviate a little bit from the message, because I think the message has filtered through why we are here. We are not politicians. We are just football coaches. Once you are a player, you are a coach, you are a legend. That's why we are here. We're saying we don't promote, we condemn, we act against, we take a stand against that, and we're saying the slogans, enough is enough. Thank you.
Very well said, Coach. And what you might not be aware is that I've got a colleague in Egypt called Dr. Hassan, and I think Velile might know him. He's a medical doctor, but he's also a journalist, very passionate supporter of Al-Ali. He told me that he closed his surgery for 3 days after you gave them 5-0. He couldn't go to work. He couldn't do anything. That was during the time we went to Egypt for the draw of the 2019 AFCON. And however, he took me to the pyramids. He took me around town and he paid for everything, simply because of what you did to his team. This just goes to show how strong football in particular can be in terms of uniting people from different walks of life. And how many of us knew that King Kalu actually facilitated a training course for Pizzo to attend in Morocco. And for me, it would be really tragic if South Africa would be banned from playing outside the country, because for us to qualify for the World Cup or for the AFCON, we have to play other African countries. So moving on, I think it is my privilege to call on AmaZulu coach Cavan Johnson. Coach, your turn.
I think it's fine. I got AmaZulu. No.
You are like me, old school.
Yeah, thank you, TK. Good afternoon, everybody. All protocol observed. I think it's age that allows me to speak last, because amongst my peers here, I think TK realized that I'm probably the oldest. So, in saying that, I grew up on time when the rainbow was black and white, and I think I'm privileged to have done that when the rainbow was black and white. And now that it's all colors, it's really a shame that we end up as coaches, as entertainers, coming in front of a nation that we worked so hard to get to a level, and now we have to talk of women violence, xenophobia. I'd like to call it humanity violence. It grows so big in my mind. And growing up when the rainbow was black and white, I got a PhD at the Street University. And probably not many of you know where the Street University is, but I'll give you a little bit of where the Street University comes from. The back streets of Alexander, front streets of Orlando Stadium, the middle streets of Westbury. That's the Street University that I come from. And there's a lot of human rights that grew up there. And for me to be able to talk now about xenophobia, it breaks me, it kills me. To talk about human violence against women, even worse. But in saying that, I think as coaches, we are here to make a stand. As entertainers, we are here to make a stand and say, let's put a stop to it. At the same time, we also share some of our personal experiences. For example, my mother is 89. She broke her hip the other day. The surgeon who done the operation is probably the best in the country, or best on the continent. Where is he from? He's from Nigeria. What are we doing, guys? I have a player where at this very moment I have to give him guidance, like Steve has said. We all have 5 of them in our teams. Some of us have more. But I have one that's really, really worried about his family. He's a young kid. He's only 21. A young athlete. He's only 21. He's worried. Coach, can I come out to my flat tomorrow? I said, don't worry, my boy. Come and stay with me. You'll be okay. So those are the challenges that we face. And that is one reason why we stand here today, or why we sit here amongst one of the best players in the world, King Kalu. And we stand against these things that's not going to be good for Africa. I don't want to speak about South Africa. I want to speak about Africa. Because in closing, guys, I want to say that there's 3 of the best players in the world that come from Africa. You have 2 of them that play for Liverpool, Sadio Mane and Mo Salah. They're classified as 2 of the best players in the world. Where does the best young player in the world that everybody's talking about now, where does he come from? He comes from Uganda. He's an African. He's 16 years old. He had to get permission from his mother and father to play for Barcelona. Guys, we have the best athletes in the world, be it singers, be it swimmers, be it patanga music, and most of all, be it football players. I think we have the best. And for that, guys, I think Wetson said it in no uncertain terms that we have a house full of rooms. When we get outside, we're all together. And we need to build together in order to win the World Cup so that we can shine and really, really be one together again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Coach. Before we do the Q&A, I would like to call on Zipho Dlangalala, if you want to say a few words.
Good afternoon, humanity. I'm happy that nobody made a comment when Kevin said the youngest player is from Uganda, because he's from Guinea-Bissau, but who cares? He's from Africa. I am not a politician. I'm an African who lives in the South. As a member of University of Pretoria community, as you can imagine, we have all types of genders, we have all types of nationalities in all levels in our community. Borders, gender, it's just that. It's just like a line on a page, still in the same page. So I would like to, we want to appeal to our communities, to our people, let's be calm. I would like to all of us to be passionate about life, to appreciate life, both ours and other people's lives, be it men, women, children, South Africans, Mexicans, Ugandans. Like I said, these are just names. If you're still alive, you call them. If you're dead, you can't. But they're just names. It's human life in them. So every life lost is one life too many, in particular through violence, as I said. And these people are, especially in Africa, these are people, these are lives that are football lives, directly or indirectly. When you kill someone in Africa, you have killed a football supporter or a player or a father of a player, an aunt of a player. It has something to do with football. That's why we are so touched. So our appeal to our communities is, please, let's look at violence as an enemy of humanity and stay away from it. If there's any fear that we should have, it should be fear of being violent. Even life in this continent, like I said, is connected to football in every way. So let us show love for one another, one love for all. In my home language, Aweshu Moya, Pants is Kali. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zipho. And I think it would be unfair of me not to call the coach of Bafana Bafana, who was camping right at this very hotel. And he was supposed to play Zambia. The game was called off. He was supposed to play Madagascar. The game was also called off. And now he had the unfortunate challenge of sending all his players home, even those players that he called from Europe to come here, and they had to go back without kicking a ball. Coach Molefi-Ntseki.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody has said it, all protocol observed. I think it's a very sad day for us as a country, for all the events that led to this. I think we need to come together, we need to unite as Africans. I've been to Nigeria. We played our qualifiers in Uyo. We won the match 2-0. The Nigerians were disappointed, but they were very supportive. We played against Libya in Tunisia. We won the match. They were disappointed, but they always supported us. Recently came back from AFCON in Egypt. We played against the host. We won in that match. The Egyptians were disappointed, but they were very supportive. And this tells us something very common about Africans. We love each other, we support each other. It is just unfortunate that the situation we are in this country has compelled us to have a match being cancelled from 2 different countries. The first one was Zambia. We were looking forward to play against Zambia in Zambia. And we know Zambia's got some players playing in the country, and it was to be a very competitive match when we were to out there and play against Zambia. The sad news came in to say Zambia has pulled out. We were looking forward to play Madagascar, who did very well in the AFCON, and the mood in the camp was very high to play against Madagascar. Late yesterday, we were told that that game has been cancelled. Can you think of it if you have sent out letters to the overseas-based players to come down here to play a friendly, and they have to go back, and in them going back, they have to tell their coaches, their teammates that we Africans, we don't love each other. We are fighting each other. That is why we could not play a match. By the way, the most important thing is that it is the beginning of the season. They have just completed the pre-season, and coaches were a bit worried of allowing the players to come for a friendly. And they ended up releasing those players. And the players come down here because the past week was very important to them to prepare their players for the next match. Even in the PSL, the season has just started. I think every coach wanted to keep his players and prepare for the matches to come. Unfortunately, all of that could not happen. We are making an appeal to every African, to every South African. Africa unite. Let us say no to xenophobia. Football is a uniting sport, and we all love football. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Coach. And we are at the tail end of our program. Before I close the show and call for a Q&A, I would like to find out from Ms. Ria Ledwaba if she would like to come in. It's up to you. If you want to come and say a few words, you are welcome. If not, please let me know, but the podium is open. Would you like to come?
Good afternoon, everybody. All protocol observed. It was not my intention to talk, but I feel I should talk because I want to appreciate the men sitting here. And I would think I'm standing here on behalf of South African women out there, that today we have men that are sitting here this morning that have decided that we are going to call a press conference and we are going to say enough is enough against women violence, against children violence, against xenophobia. I think it is so important that we have men declaring that it must stop. It has to stop. And I think Coach Kompela has said it very well, that we should leave the authorities out there to do their work. We should not take the law into our hands as South Africans. Kalusha has indicated that when he was playing in Europe, no one knew about any other country. They knew that we all come from Africa. So we are all Africans. So we need to stay together. We need to work together. We need to live with each other together. And I think it is so important that what they are doing today, we should appreciate. That is not even women sitting here declaring that this must stop, but it is men. I think this is the very important message that comes from men, and I would want to thank them for doing that. In my office where I work, and I think a lot of people think I'm just a football person, but I have my work. In my work sphere, where I work, in my office, I've got foreigners. I've got a person from Malawi. I've got a person from Zimbabwe. I've got a person from Zambia. And every morning, I have to go and check whether they are there, whether they have come to work or not. You know, so it is painful. It is a concern to every South African that we must stand together. We must all stand together to denounce and say this xenophobic attacks must stop. Communities out there must learn to live with other people. I have traveled Africa, and what Ntseki is saying, when you go there, you fight in the field of play at that time of the match. 90 minutes, when the match is done, it's over. We can go and have fun together as Africans. So I'm here to say thank you so much for just the thought, the thinking of just calling this press conference. And I felt when Amy told me and my dear friend Tuli from Tsoro-san that there is this press conference, I said to them, I am going to go to that press conference because I believe what they have done is incredible. And I want to thank them very much.
Thank you very much, Sis Ria. All the people that put this whole thing together, Tsoko-san, and I believe Tyler Mason Management or what, Tulani, can you please come here, because I believe you and the gentleman here are the ones who put this whole shebang together.
Thank you very much. Greetings, protocol observed. To the media family here, thank you for the support. I believe I am because we are. When Coach Pito and Coach Steve and the rest of the coaches said to me, this thing needs to happen, I said, why not? I think I learned a lot as well from people that are here. There's Lag September, I won't say from where. He's Lag September from Eastern Cape, you know. That's okay, right? I think through the interaction that we have, we always speak about supporting each other and always being positive and being the positive change, you know, that we want to see. And we can't just talk and complain in the background and complain at home on social media and be negative when we can be the change. I have a daughter, she's 8 years old, and she's quite smart. I don't know where she gets it from, but she asked me. Definitely not me. She asked me, she said, because she watches the news, she said to me,